Hulk has always been one of my absolute favorite superheroes. And yeah, part of that is incredibly simple. He's a giant green monster who gets stronger the angrier he becomes and can go toe-to-toe with some of the most ridiculously powerful characters in comic books. That's just plain awesome. But the older I've gotten and the more I've learned about Hulk outside of just the movies, the more I've realized that there's actually a lot more going on with this character. Hulk can be an Avenger. He can also be a monster. He can be the hero of the story, or he can just be the thing every other hero in the story is desperately trying to stop. And underneath of it all is Bruce Banner, one of the smartest people in the Marvel Universe, trapped in this constant relationship with something that is simultaneously his greatest strength and his greatest problem. So with Hulk returning to the spotlight in the MCU, I started thinking about something. Why does one of Marvel's most famous characters still not have another movie? Because I think Hulk is not only one of the coolest superheroes Marvel has ever created, I think Marvel has barely scratched the surface of what he could actually be. Let's start with the fun part. Hulk is insanely powerful. I'm talking superhuman strength, speed, durability, regeneration, and endurance. The dude can literally run 300 miles per hour, or 483 kilometers per hour. But the ability everybody knows him for is the one that makes him so interesting. Generally speaking, the angrier Hulk gets, the stronger he gets. So that creates a pretty hilarious problem if you're fighting him. Let's say you're incredibly strong. You hit Hulk. It hurts him. Great. Except now, you've made Hulk angrier. So Hulk hits you harder, you hit him harder, Hulk gets even angrier, and eventually you might realize that continuing this fight was a really bad idea. That's why Hulk has been able to stand against some of the strongest characters Marvel has. He's fought Thor countless times, he's battled Hercules, he's fought The Thing, he's gone up against Sentry, he's fought Avengers, monsters, aliens, and gods. And that's one of my favorite things about him. Marvel can introduce some ridiculously powerful character and you can still reasonably ask, okay, but could they beat Hulk? Thor is a literal god. He's thousands of years old, ridiculously powerful, and carries one of the most famous weapons in comic books. And Hulk versus Thor is still an argument. That's awesome. And the comics have occasionally taken Hulk's strength to completely absurd levels. Get characters and concepts like World Breaker Hulk, where Hulk's power becomes so enormous that simply existing around him can become a problem. Then there's World War Hulk. This isn't just Hulk randomly smashing things because somebody made him angry. This is Hulk coming back to Earth, specifically looking for the people he believes destroyed his life. And suddenly that childish idea of the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets becomes kind of terrifying. Because now Hulk knows exactly who he's angry at. But that's also where I think people only know Hulk from the movies are missing a huge part of the character. Hulk isn't just one angry green guy. Bruce Banner and Hulk have one of the strongest relationships in superhero comics because Hulk isn't really a costume Bruce puts on. He's not Iron Man stepping into armor. He's not Peter Parker putting on a mask. Hulk has his own personality. And over decades of comics, that idea has become much more complicated. There's the classic Savage Hulk most people recognize. There's Joe Fixit, the Gray Hulk, who is smarter, more cunning, and at one point literally worked as a Las Vegas enforcer. There's Professor Hulk. There's Devil Hulk. There have been all kinds of different manifestations of Hulk throughout Bruce Banner's history. And writers have used that to take Hulk into genres you wouldn't necessarily expect. The Immortal Hulk, for example, leaned heavily into horror. And Hulk works incredibly well as horror. I mean, think about it. Bruce Banner loses control of his own body and transforms into something enormously powerful that may have completely different motivations than he does. Kind of Jekyll and Hyde character. That's horrifying. But then you can take the exact same character and put him on another planet, such as a gladiator. Now he's science fiction. Put him with the Avengers. Now he's a superhero. Have Hulk lose control and make the Avengers fight him. Now he's basically the villain in the movie, or the monster in the movie. That's one of the things that makes Hulk so cool to me. He can fit almost anywhere. I don't know. That's one of the things that makes Hulk so cool to me. He can basically fit almost anywhere. which makes what happened to him in the MCU even stranger. The last actual solo Hulk movie was The Incredible Hulk in 2008. Edward Norton did a fantastic job as Bruce Banner. That movie came out the same year as Iron Man. Yeah, I didn't realize that either, but apparently it did. Think about how long ago that was. The MCU barely existed. Maybe that one cutscene of Samuel L. Jackson was it. Then, Mark Ruffalo took over as Banner in the Avengers in 2012. And his version of Hulk immediately became one of the most memorable parts of that movie. You want to know my secret? I'm always angry. Hulk versus Thor. Hulk smashing Loki into the floor. People loved this character. And Mark Ruffalo has continued playing him for years. He has, for better or worse, become the quintessential Hulk. Except he has never actually gotten his own Hulk movie. Iron Man got 3 movies. Captain America got 3. Thor got 4. The Guardians of the Galaxy got 3. Ant-Man got 3. Doctor Strange got 2, coming a third, and Black Panther also is going to have 3. Hulk has basically spent the MCU borrowing everybody else's movies. Even some of his most interesting material has happened inside somebody else's story. Take Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok takes major inspiration from Planet Hulk. Hulk is living on Sakaar. He's a gladiator. He's the Grand Master's champion. He has become his own person separate from Banner. And I love Ragnarok, but it's still technically Thor's movie. Then, Infinity War does something else really interesting. Thanos beats Hulk. After that, Hulk refuses to come back out. For years, Bruce Banner had been the guy saying, I don't want Hulk. Now, Bruce actually needs Hulk. And Hulk essentially says, no. There is an entire character story sitting right there. What does Hulk think of Bruce? Why doesn't he want to help him? Does Hulk resent being treated like a weapon Bruce only wants when he needs something smashed? How do these two personalities actually learn to live together? And then Endgame happens, and they apparently figured it out. But off screen, Bruce shows up as Professor Hulk and explains that he basically combined Banner and Hulk. Wait a second. Wait, can I see that? Because that sounds like a pretty important story and a pretty cool movie. Bruce Banner, one of the smartest guys in the MCU, with something that he doesn't understand, a being inside of him. And apparently their biggest breakthrough in the entire relationship happened between movies. That's the biggest problem I have with MCU Hulk. He actually has an interesting character arc. He just doesn't have his own story. And right now might actually be one of the best opportunities Marvel has to change this. The MCU is moving through another enormous transition. We have Avengers Doomsday, then Avengers Secret Wars. The Fantastic Four are here. The X-Men are becoming increasingly important. The multiverse is involved. Characters and universes are colliding. And after Secret Wars, Marvel is eventually going to have to answer a really important question. What comes next? Because you can't keep getting bigger forever. And once you've threatened reality itself, where exactly do you go from there? And I think one answer is actually pretty simple. Go smaller again. Focus on individual characters and give Hulk a movie. Hulk is already connected to so many different parts of this universe. Bruce is an Avenger. He's connected to Thunderbolt Ross. He's connected to She-Hulk. He's connected to the entire gamma radiation side of Marvel. And now he's connected to Spider-Man. And with Hulk continuing to appear in major MCU stories, Marvel has plenty of ways to position Bruce for something bigger after the current saga. Whatever happens during Doomsday and Secret Wars could even be the thing that destabilizes Professor Hulk. Maybe Bruce thinks he finally solved the Hulk problem. Then something changes. Anyways, maybe I'm asking for too much. I just want a Hulk movie. Make Hulk scary again. Not evil, not stupid, scary. And that's what we saw in Spider-Man Brand New Day with the Hulk's increasing temper and size. We're finally seeing the Hulk for his true power. They nerfed him in basically all the previous Avengers movies. So now we're actually starting to see Hulk. When Bruce loses control, everybody around him should understand why that is a serious problem. Why not explore the different Hulk personalities? Bring in some of the psychological elements from the comics. How did we not get a Red Hulk versus Green Hulk movie or scene? I mean, come on. That's like the coolest matchup ever. All I'm saying is bring in some different Hulk personalities. bring in some of the psychological elements from the comics, borrow some of the horror of Immortal Hulk maybe, give Bruce an actual character story. And yes, eventually let Hulk smash something. I'm still watching a Hulk movie. I want buildings getting destroyed too, obviously. I actually wouldn't immediately make World War Hulk. That's kind of a bigger build. As much as I want to see it, I think Marvel should earn that story. Give Hulk his smaller movie first. Reestablish Banner. Reestablish Hulk. Show us what their relationship is actually like now. Maybe introduce some of the other personalities. Then start expanding. Eventually, you can build toward Hulk becoming a genuine problem for the entire MCU. And imagine that movie. The Avengers aren't fighting some new alien we've never met before. They're fighting one of their oldest friends. Thor knows Hulk. Not like Robert Downey Jr. being the same actor who happens to have the same face in a different universe as Iron Man. No, this is Hulk. This is the guy that's been on their team for years. They know each other. They've fought together, and they've saved the freaking universe together. But somehow, they're on opposite sides. That's kind of like Civil War. Come to think of it, maybe we shouldn't make that movie because it'd be too similar. But all I'm saying is, something like that can make a World War Hulk adaptation so much more interesting than simply watching Hulk fight everybody. Why not have him fight the X-Men? Which is kind of what they're building right now. This new, younger X-Men team needs a threat. After Doomsday, that could be Hulk. We know Hulk. We know the X-Men from their huge franchise, but these new, younger characters we don't really know. They're kind of reintroducing them to the audience. So having Hulk fight these fresh faces, I think, would build a pretty good foundation for the new X-Men. And if Marvel really wants another giant crossover after Secret Wars, there are very few things that sound more fun to me than the Avengers have to stop Hulk. You don't even need to explain much more than that. But ultimately, I don't love Hulk because of some complicated ranking of superhero power levels. He's just one of my favorite badass superheroes because the basic idea behind him is so good. Bruce Banner is a genius who becomes a creature driven largely by emotion. The smartest man in the room becomes the guy who solves problems by smashing them. How ironic is that? Bruce wants control, while Hulk represents the complete loss of control. Bruce sometimes sees Hulk as a curse. Hulk has also saved Bruce's life countless times. Sometimes they hate each other, sometimes they need each other. Sometimes Hulk seems almost like a child who doesn't understand why everybody keeps attacking him. Other times, he's one of the most dangerous creatures on Earth. And underneath all that complicated stuff is still this wonderfully simple comic book fantasy. Hulk is really, really strong. That's fun. Superheroes don't always have to be complicated. They don't have to be like Doctor Strange. They don't have to be like Bucky Barnes. Sometimes I want the psychological exploration of Bruce Banner's fractured identity. Sometimes I want Immortal Hulk to make the character genuinely unsettling. Sometimes I want a tragic story about a man who can't control the monster inside himself. Something I think all people can relate to. And sometimes I want Hulk to punch Thor straight through a wall. The great thing about Hulk is that you can have all those things. That's why he's one of my absolute favorite superheroes. Not necessarily the greatest superhero ever created. I'm not even sure you can objectively answer that. But one of the greatest? Absolutely. And he's certainly one of Marvel's most underused. Marvel has more than 60 years of Hulk comics to work with. They have Planet Hulk, they have World War Hulk, they have Immortal Hulk, they have Savage Hulk, Joe Fixit, Professor Hulk, and all these different interpretations of the character. They have Bruce Banner, and they have an MCU that's about to go through one of the biggest transitions in its history. So when all this multiverse insanity eventually settles down, give the Green Guy his movie. Let Bruce Banner be the main character again. Let Hulk be dangerous again. I'm telling you, people will be excited about this. Give us the psychological stuff. Give us the ridiculous comic book stuff. And eventually, if the story earns it, give us that World War Hulk. Because whenever Marvel introduces the next god, alien, mutant, or cosmic monster and tells us that this is one of the strongest beings we've ever seen, I know what I'm going to be thinking. Okay, but can they beat Hulk? And actually, I'm curious about you guys. Who's your favorite superhero? It doesn't have to be Marvel, whatever you're into. And tell me why, because I think the reason someone loves a superhero is usually more interesting than the actual superhero they pick. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to Untold and Unusual. We're going to be talking about history, movies, money, weird ideas, and basically whatever else I find interesting enough to spend way too much time thinking about. I'll see you in the next one.